Let me take you back to Dundee on the 9th of September in 1863. It was a public holiday, a very special one, because it was the opening of the People's Park. As you can see in this picture, there were thousands and thousands of people there. Some estimates said there were over 80,000 men, women and children, celebrating what quickly became known as Baxter Park. There were speeches, of course, including one by Lord Russell, who was the Prime Minister of the time. And as you can see from the flags and banners, the trades and the crafts and guilders of the town were all there in force. Hello, my name is Jan Merchant, and I'm an archivist with the University of Dundee Archive Services. I'd like to introduce you to the Big Back Garden project. It's a project that the archive has been doing with pupils from Morgan Academy, a project that looks at the history of Baxter Park and its role in the health and well-being of the people of Dundee. The Big Back Garden project saw pupils from Morgan Academy's S3 classes using things like these, the minutes of meetings, postcards, newspapers and other archives from the University Archive, but also from Dundee City Archive and the Dundee Local History Centre. These were all used to tell the story of Baxter Park. It's a story that began with David Baxter. He was a major linen and jute manufacturer in the town, and he recognised that Dundee's rapid industrialisation had brought not just employment to the town, but also overcrowding and poverty. David Baxter, along with his sisters Mary Ann Baxter and Eleanor, they spent round about £50,000 to buy the land for the park and also to hire Sir Joseph Paxton, who was the country's most famous park designer at the time. They also set up a trust to fund the park's maintenance, and it was David Baxter's way of trying to alleviate some of the people's hardships by providing them with a space where they could go to get fresh air and exercise away from their awful living and working conditions. Exploring records like the 19th century minute books of the park's trustees, as well as the minute books of the council who actually took over the park around about 1903, the Morgan Academy pupils charted how the park's been used for over 150 years. They found records such as these minutes about the military voluntary corps and the cricket teams. They constantly argued about which of them would use the park and which times. They discovered things like bowling greens as well as tennis courts had been built, and of course children's playgrounds. The pupils found over the years more entertainment was provided in the park, particularly concerts by brass bands. They were a regular feature in the evenings in the summer and on Sundays. There was also, of course, the paths, the trees and the plantings for everybody to enjoy as they walked, ran or cycled around the park. The result of all this research by the pupils is a series of narratives which look at different events across the park's long history. So they tell the stories of the planning and the opening, and of how Sir David Baxter's statue was vandalised and had to be removed, how the general strike impacted on the park as well as World War II. And of course, after a long period of neglect, the park was regenerated and reopened in 2007. And running through all these narratives is how the people of Dundee could escape to the park to enjoy the fresh air, the sport and the entertainment that it's always provided. The pupils' narratives will soon be recorded, and they'll be available via QR code plaques that will be attached to benches around the park. We're also working on the Big Back Garden website, and that'll carry the stories, images and other information, as well as a trail around the park where you can follow in the footsteps of visitors from the past. So thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed this wee taster about the project. Keep a lookout over the next few months for more news about the Dundee's Big Back Garden project, and hopefully we'll see you there soon.